Howdy ho, Maplers, and welcome to what quite possibly was my most scuffed 250. It's Evan. Everyone saw it coming. We got it to 250. Super fast now that it has its boost nodes equipped. But for Evan, it's kind of a mixed bag of feelings for me for Evan. I really like how relaxing Evan's mobbing is, but its bossing is just so much so the direct opposite of that I don't know how I quite feel. For the gear, it's pretty much the same as always. Nothing has really changed since my bishop video. All of the gear is pretty much the same. A pretty okay cup. Got that from Pink Bean just by doing my dailies on this character. I was really surprised to actually get a decent cup for once. Just a Star Force pendant for the second slot. This would normally be reserved for my EXP pendant. Everything is pretty okay. My mage gear, aside from like my wand and my shield, aren't super overpowered. They're pretty baseline for what they can do. The emblem's really nice. Like, this is probably the best emblem I've rolled on one of these characters. 3 very useful lines. Then there's my amazing shield as always. God, I love it. And then my placeholder heart. Unfortunately, ferroids are now getting super duper expensive for reg servers, so I'm kind of having to get a little creative on what I'm going to put in my heart spot for Star Force. And for Evan, you definitely want attack speed as your first prime line for your invulnerability. It's pretty necessary. On to the V Matrix. This one is important, okay? Decent holy symbol in the first spot, as always. Right where it should be. Decent sharp eyes. It's got crit rate, it's got crit damage. If you need either of those, which you need one of them, always. You always want it. And then boost nodes. These ones are important, guys. Boost nodes are very important for Evan. Now, I'll preface this by saying I have the luxury of having a plethora of nodes at my disposal. I am pretty much node positive with all of my 250s, so I just kind of maxed out everything. You do not need to max out everything as an Evan. Maxing everything out is a luxury, not a necessity. So I'll go through what I have. The first one, and by golly, this is the most important one. Thunder Circle, Wind Circle, Earth Circle. Good God. This is all of your combo skills right here. It is so vital that you have this on so you don't do what I did and train 244 levels without 100% final damage on your key mobbing skills. That one definitely needed. Positively needed. Then my second trio was Dragon Spark, Dragon Master, and Dragon Burst. Now on this trio, you do not need Dragon Master. What would go in this spot in Dragon Master's place is Magic Debris. Because realistically, Evan only needs 4 tri-nodes when you're like thinking about playing it to endgame. Because while having all of your skills boosted is nice, it's not a necessity. Because primarily you're really only using 1 or 2 combos for just about everything. You have like 15 different combos, but they're not always useful. And the 1 and 2 that you can boost quick and easy by only using 4 tri-nodes are your most used ones. So you would want Mana Debris on here instead of Dragon Master. Then for your next trio, Dragon Breath, Dragon Flash, and Dragon Dive. Those are all of your Mer skills. These aren't necessarily vitally important, as vitally important as these ones, but these are definitely nice to have. I would say these take priority in like the 3rd spot. Once you have these maxed out, your first 2 important ones, then go for these, because this is definitely a boost to your damage. No doubt about that. And then my last trio was Magic Debris, Summon Onyx, and Dragon Dive. I kind of had to like fiddle these things around because nodes were not giving me good RNG. For Summon Onyx, you don't need it at all. Like, Summon Onyx is really strong on its own. You don't need to boost it. It's nice to have it boosted so it starts one-shotting earlier, but it's not a necessity to boost. Then for Evan's skills. Oh boy. Evan's skills are weird. I'm gonna start backwards here on Evan's newest skill. Spiral of Mana. This is probably like one of the sleeper skills for the new patch. It has no cooldown, 7 seconds of uptime, and it does really good damage. Well, it has a 4.5 second cooldown, but you'll never notice it. The only problem I have with this skill is it is kind of clunky to activate because you need to use Mana Burst once and then use Mana Burst twice while holding down, and that'll place it. It feels smooth the first time you use it, but when you're placing it subsequently, like while you're trying to do burst combos, it sometimes just doesn't work. And you're gonna be slamming your face into the ground, doing nothing because mages can't attack while ducked. And then for the second skill, Elemental Radiance. I like this skill a lot because it is an absurd amount of potential damage. But the setup required to get this to do that damage, it takes a lot of practice. There are very specific combos that can quick charge Elemental Radiance, but you need to do them very, very precisely. If you miss a step at all, you're not going to get this to proc, because you need to charge it up to 25 magic attack before it starts attacking. The attack itself lasts for 15 total seconds, so the faster you can get to 25 magic attack, the faster it'll go off. And the way you get magic attack is using different element skills. Like say you use Dragon Breath for fire, return it, then use earth, and you just keep cycling in different attacks, and then you hopefully get enough magic debris from that to fill up the remaining gauge and get it to start going. When it works, it's insane. When it doesn't, it's the most tilting thing in the goddamn universe, because you're just gonna watch the buff start ticking down lower and lower, just like, oh look, my damage potential is going down to 0. So like when I was doing dojo, this is one of my least favorite skills because unless I have setup for the boss, this is rough for me. Like the precise combo I don't have down yet, so I'm using my elemental skills before to build up debris, because every point of debris counts for 1 magic attack on the skill. So I'm just banking on all of the debris I can summon to fill up the gauge instead of having to use a precise combo of skills and recalls to get it to work. It's scuffed, but it works, I guess. It's a good skill, and definitely if you're looking to main Evan, you'll understand better than I do how this will work and how you can quick charge it. And once you get that down, by god, this skill does so much damage. It's unreal, the damage potential of this thing when you can charge it quick. And then for your next skills, I'm going to do these two together because using them by themselves is kind of trolling. Dragon Slam and Elemental Barrage. They are 2 unique skills by themselves, and they do different things, but generally 99% of the time you're only going to be using them together. The other 1% of the time you're going to be using Dragon Slam so that you can slam and then recall for the little green orb attack. Dragon Slam, the only problem I have with this, the only difference I can tell between Dragon Slam's animation and Dragon Dive's animation is Dragon Slam flashes the screen white for like half a second when it starts. So it's kind of rough, but once you get down like the feel for your keys, it shouldn't be a problem. Elemental Barrage, this skill's useless unless you're comboing with Dragon Slam, let's be honest, it's actually useless. Like, when you merge these two together, Worm King's Breath is an amazing skill. It's great for mobbing, it's great for bossing, it's huge burst with just these 2 short cooldowns. But this by itself is kinda shit. It's not the greatest. And then obviously True Arachnid Reflection for completing the Will skill, or the Will storyline, and then Character Building 1, because you always want your EXP node. It's definitely something you want. Evan is one of the classes that I've played so far that probably has the highest skill ceiling in the game for classes I've played so far. I haven't done Cadena, I haven't done Blaster. Those are the other 2 who like push the ceiling for skill expression on a class. So Evan is definitely a class that is more poised for mains than for casual players like me, because there is a lot that goes into being a good Evan. There's animation canceling, there's knowing proper rotations of your skills, there's keeping Mur uptime, there's keeping your returns uptime. There's so much you need to do to be a really, really good Evan. It's a little overwhelming for someone who's more casual on the boss side like I am. And for training, 200 to 210, you could go to the Hidden Fire Zone. It's a fine place if you're training in the Vanishing Journey. But generally, most people train their Evans to 210 just for the Link skill. And by God, when you're training Evan to 210 for the Link skill, Evan is one of the weakest characters ever. So I would highly recommend you just stay in Fez 2. I'm not even kidding. Oh my gosh. I remember when I was training my Evan to 210 for the Link skill almost 3 years ago at this point, when I was just starting out in Bara. It was one of the most miserable experiences of my life getting this to 210. But Evan is really good at mobbing, like obscenely good. If you have Frenzied Spawn, you just want to do your Dragon Breath recall so that you get your fire on the ground, and then you just cycle your Wind Circle and Dragon Flash, and your Dragon Breath and your Earth Circle. And holy moly, it's good mobbing. It just takes a bunch more funding than most 210 mules. Like a lot more. But these levels are super fast now. The EXP curve has been changed dramatically since when I did this, so it shouldn't take you too long, even if you're just staying in Fez 2. And I would highly recommend staying in Fez 2, because you're gonna need all the help you can get. Then 205 to 210, you can go to Reverse City. I really tried to make T-Boy's research train, or the hidden research train, work for Evan, but there's no real way to set up your skills that it feels better than the map that I found in Choo-Choo, which is Biddy Bopple Forest 1. Now, it's kinda scuffed because I didn't have my boost nodes on till 244, but I stayed in this map until 227, and pretty much this is the best area for Evan in Choo-Choo, because you can set your Lucid Soul over there, you can Dragon Recall to get fire right there, and then you could just use your combos off to the left, relying on Lucid Soul to clear the, or on the right, and rely on Lucid Soul to clear the left. I'm not kidding when I'm saying I was getting better EXP rates here in Choo-Choo than my Dark Knight was getting in Moonbridge. It's absolutely unreal, because this is 100% uptime full map clear. Especially if you're cycling in your Onyx for like the few seconds that your Lucid Soul is down. It's effectively 100% uptime on full map clear. It really pushes how gosh darn good Evan's mobbing is. So much so that I just straight up skipped Latchelin and stayed in Choo-Choo until 227 because the EXP rate was way better than I was expecting it to be. And it is, it's really darn good. There are maps in Latchelin that are fine. You can do Rev Place 3, you can do your Red Dancing Shoes and Occupied Dance Floor 2. Both of them are good maps, they just require more funding. And funding is the big part for Evan. Evan's mobbing is very, very reliant on your combo skills one-shotting. That means primarily your Dragon Breath and Earth combo, and your Dragon Flash and Wind combo. Dragon Flash and Wind is probably the weakest combo Evan has in terms of like raw damage output, and it is also one of the strongest mobbing skills Evan has. So it's like a double-edged sword in the amount of funding you need to just mob efficiently around your levels, where I would recommend staying in lower level areas longer just so that you're getting better EXP rates, because when you're fully one-shotting, you're going to get better EXP rates than if you're two-shotting. Always. Almost always. And I have plenty of experience with this because I didn't have my stupid boost nodes on. I did a lot of training with two-shotting Evan, and let me tell you, it ain't great. It's not good. I was struggling to break 65 bill EXP per hour with max buffs. And where I trained from 225 until 250 was Cavern Lower Path. You guys saw this on stream a little bit when I was showing off some of the Evan gameplay. This map is really darn good for Evan. You can also go to upper path, but for reg servers currently we have a bit of a problem in upper path known as zeros. They're populating like rabbits, there's just too many of them. There's hardly ever an open channel to even train, so I stuck it out in LP1. This map feels really good for Evan. Primarily the rotation is you want to set up your fire on the left and pull it down. I like to recall it right on the rope so that one little section there has fire, and then I set my Lucid Soul here as well, because she'll hit these two platforms up here that you're not grabbing. And then on the right side of the map, you want to be dropping your Summon Onyx and your Will skill on cooldown if you have it. And then from the middle, or even from a little bit on the fire, you just want to be cycling your big skills. And holy crap, this is actually insane when you're fully one-shotting. I was averaging 115 bill. Oh, thank you, Mr. Elite, for ruining everything. 115 billion EXP per hour in this map. One of the most easy and relaxing training methods I've ever used, and it's putting out numbers that are competing with zero. It's absurd how good this class is to mob when you're fully one-shotting. It's actually pretty nuts. Let's just burst this bad boy right way. Boom! Look at that big old damage. God, I love Evan's burst. So good. But yeah, when you're fully one-shotting as an Evan, this class is on a whole nother level compared to most of the classes in this game, because it just has so many darn tools in its arsenal to mob with. It's got this fire that lasts for 45 seconds that ticks like 2 times a second. It's super duper strong. It's a mage, so it gets really good Lucid Soul damage, so it's super duper strong. It also has a 45-second summit that hits a bunch of mobs, 6 mobs per breath. It has so many good tools. Now, if I were stronger, I wouldn't have stayed here per se. There was a map in Asphera that proved to be really, really nice as well. It has a good rotation. It doesn't have a good loot rotation, but it has a good rotation for training. So, if you'd want to try this one out, I would definitely say try to find a loot cycle that's comfortable for you. But for me, how I did this map is Dragonfire Recall to set the fire directly under me, set that up behind me, and then just combo to the right. Because your Dragon Fire combo can hit those top platforms. And your Wind combo can also get up there. Evan has some pretty nuts reach on its skills. And then you're just resetting your new 4th V right behind you, because it has 100% uptime. There's effectively no cooldown if you're using it as a mobbing skill. You can just keep recasting it all you want. And if you're fully one-shotting, this is a really good place to train as an Evan. You don't hardly have to move at all. The only problem I have with this map so far from my testing is I wasn't able to make like a comfortable loot cycle. Because you can stand on like the edge here and then use your combo, set up a turret behind you, and then try to get through the map real quick to loot. But there's just so many platforms to get through to loot, you're never going to get it before your skill ends. So it's a bit of a problem, but at the same time, it's a problem you want to have, right? You're in a map that's pushing your EXP rates higher. It's obviously good if you're looking to level up. And that's pretty much the training for Evan. Despite how many skills you have, you're really only using 2 of them. Well, 4 technically, if you count the Earth Circle and Wind Circle abilities to combo into them. Evan is surprisingly complex, but surprisingly simple in execution. You have a lot of skills that have a huge range of uses, but you're just not getting into situations where you're going to be using any of those ranges of uses. So it kind of defaults down to like a few select combos that you're ever using. From what I see and hear, primarily you want to use your Dragon Dive Earth Circle combo for bossing because it's the highest damage bossing skill. So you want to be using that, and then ideally you want to be using your Wind whenever you need to recall and refresh the IED debuff, and your Dragon Breath whenever you need to reset the fire on the ground. There's so many steps in Evan's bossing that it is very much so one of the most demanding bossers there is, because you're not only focusing on what you're doing in the boss, you have to pay attention to what Mur is doing to what all of your recall effects are doing, where things are falling off, what needs to be recast, what skills are up, and what cooldowns. There's a lot of focus demanding things in Evan, because Evan's bossing is a lot of little bits of damage, but those little bits of damage add up to some huge damage numbers if you're able to keep on top of them. And that's really my main problem with Evan's bossing. Keeping on top of these things is super tedious. Like, there's a bunch of skills that go into Evan here, and you need to find a way to play this class that's comfortable for you. Seriously, like, I don't know how I would have played Evan if I didn't, like, find a rotation of my skills that was comfortable. I used my right hand for all of my dragon skills, and then my left hand would just summon everything else and use the circle combo skills. This is the way that I found that was comfortable to play. Everyone uses their key setups differently, but Evan is one of those characters that is going to be pushing the limits on your fucking key slots. It's really bad, because all of these skills are useful, and a lot of them are vital. Like, Dark Fog, you want to be casting Dark Fog before you recall your magic debris, because while Dark Fog's on cooldown, magic debris does more damage. You want to always be keeping your Dragon Flash return debuff on to bosses, because it's helping out on your damage output. You always want to keep your Dragon Breath recall on the floor, because that's additional lines of damage. You got to keep on top of your new 5th job skill, because it's effectively 100% uptime, but it needs to be recast every 7 seconds on cooldown. And while you're bossing, you need to make sure Myrrh is attacking at all times. It's really nice, and a lot of really good Evans do this. There are animation cancels for effectively everything in Evan. You can almost go an entire boss without ever dropping a single mana burst to reposition or replace a skill. It's really nuts, the extremes of like min-maxing you can do for Evan. You can use all of your dragon skills, all of your combo skills, and you can weave them flawlessly with mana burst. It's like the point of pride for like really good Evans is how well they're able to weave skills together without dropping DPS. And it's insane when it works. But holy shit, the amount of work that goes into actually making it work. Oh lord. It ain't for me. Like, I've got old maple boomer hands, bro. I've been playing this game for 16 years. I cannot keep up with this class. I legitimately can't. Doing dojo was some of the worst experiences I had on this class, and it sucks because the mobbing is probably one of my favorite classes I've done so far, besides like Xenon and Battle Mage and Beast Tamer to some extent. It's the perfect balance of active mobbing and super inactive mobbing, because once you set everything up, you only have to use a skill every 4 seconds. So you're pressing less than 50 keys a minute. It's super chill. But at the same time, on the flip side, the bossing is like 50 keys a second. There is no chill at all to Evan's bossing, especially if you want to be good at it. Because there's a lot of minor things. Like, every time you want to be using Dragon Slam on cooldown effectively, because when you recall Dragon Slam, you get a bonus attack from the recall. So you want to be using this you want to use this 3 times and recall it every time, because on the 3rd time, you'll be comboing it with Elemental Barrage for your burst. And then once that's about to end, you also want to recall it. There's so many little things you have to keep paying attention to. You want to make sure, oh hey, this skill animation is about to end, recall it real quick so that I get the bonus out of recalling it without losing any of the uptime on the damage. If you need to reset fire, you want to Dragon Breath into Wind Circle at the last second to extend Myrrh's attack as long as possible, and then right before it fades, you want to recall it to get the fire back on the ground. And there's so many little things. You can quick cast the skills together, like Dragon Flash into Wind Circle, to instantly get the Wind Slices, but that's kind of not optimal in some situations. Like, when you want to push as much damage as possible, you want to be letting Myrrh go to like the last possible second of Dragon Flash before using Wind Circle to get the fusion skill, and then let that go for just as long before it expires, and then you want to pull it back for the recall debuff. There's a lot going on in this class, and it all adds up. Like, Dragon Master is a really nice skill. It's pretty much a full iframe for the entire duration and does quite a bit of damage. But while I was bossing, I never found a good time to use it. Maybe it's because I don't do hard bosses, so I don't really have use for iframes as much. But there's almost never a time you can use this beneficially, because to use this, Myr can't be attacking. You can't be using any fusion skills to use Dragon Master. So if you need to use it in a panic, you need to return real fast and then cast Dragon Master, which means you're stopping Myr's combo attacks or whatever he's doing just to use your iframe or use your mobbing skill. And in most situations, that's just not beneficial. Like doing the coin cap daily where you need to just like pump damage into these target dummies, this would be a really nice skill to use, but there's hardly ever an instant like I can get this skill into the rotation, because I need to keep the new 4th V up at all times. I need to keep fire on the ground ticking on every one of those things. Once I get into like the 130 plus coin stages where everything's really tanky, I need to make sure I'm getting my Dragon Flash recall on them so that I'm doing more damage. I need to make sure I'm using Dragon Dive and Return every time I need to refresh the attack speed. Oh god, there's just so there's so much at stake to like min-max your damage on Evan. It is very, very stressful. It's like there's 1,000,001 steps to playing Evan right, and every single one of those steps will trip you up. And when they do, it's gonna throw your whole flow out of motion. At least it did for me, especially when you're like trying to set up for big bursts, because you really need to get Elemental Radiance out as fast as possible to maximize its damage. Once you start the skill, it starts ticking. You need to charge it up or it's going to lose damage every second that it's not going. And, oh my god. Like, ideally you want to cap off this by doing a Magic Debris Recall and then combo into Dragon Slam Barrage. And then instantly set down your new 4th V for, like, the biggest burst possible. There's far too many times I, like, misjudged how much Magic Debris I had, recalled it, threw these out, and I was like one magic attack away from this going off. So then I had to cancel half of my burst just to get this to go. Oh man. I don't know. I really, really liked Evan's mobbing. I really did. It was pretty much the perfect mobbing for me. It's that perfect blend of active play with easy mobbing. It's not like full brainless AFK like Zero, and it's not way too over an active like Shadow or Dark Knight where I have to fully pay attention to cooldowns at all times. It's the perfect balance for me for mobbing. But for that bossing, holy holy shit, that bossing is another beast entirely. And it just ain't for me. It really ain't. Evan is a fantastic class. A little on the weak side, a very demanding class when it comes to nodes. Like, good god. Evan has a lot of skills, so getting perfect trios is really, really rough. This is definitely a class I'd recommend breaking out a spreadsheet and just taking generic nodes that cover all your bases. Because getting perfect nodes on this, it was not worth it. It ate so many of my nodes, and I didn't even get them all. It's really rough. But that was Evan. Huh. You know, for the first 244 levels of this character, my opinion was dramatically different. When I didn't know, like, I'll like go over it again. I made all of my nodes before starting this character, like a week before, because it was haste event, so I didn't want to waste any time doing nodes on haste events, so I just fully prepared my Evan and my Iran with their nodes and just let them go, and I'd get to them when I got to them. Starting off, I just had like 4 skills up here, and I ran through and I was just trying to fit in skills where I got them. Once I got to 6 boost nodes, because most classes don't have more than 6 boost nodes, or 5 rather, sorry, not 6. Most of them don't have that many boost nodes. I was like, oh, okay, that's all my boost nodes, because I wanted to start using Evan's actual V skills. So I started putting those on the board, and then I kind of just forgot that there was even a chance I had more than 5 boost nodes. So I did 244 levels playing this class with way less damage than I should have had. And whoo, laddie, my opinion did a full 180 once I realized that I was missing all of those boost nodes. Like, my video pretty much is like, it's heartbreaking when I realized it, but at the same time, I was so happy that I wasn't gonna have to just slam Evan as hard as I did Dark Knight. Oh, I feel bad. It's like I railed on Dark Knight because I really didn't enjoy it, and I don't feel like the class works that well for GMS. But I was getting through Evan. I'm getting close to finishing. I'm like, oh god, this is gonna be just like Dark Knight all over again. What's the point? Unless you're like super duper funded, and then sure enough, nope, I'm just stupid. So hey, there's always something to learn in this game, right? I'm 21 250s in at this point. I'm still learning things. Hey, who knows? Boost nodes are important, guys. Who knew? Oh, Lord. But that was Evan. Oh my god, that was an experience and a half. From one of the most scuffed 250s I've ever done to like one of my most enjoyable mobbing experiences that a class has offered in this game. As always, if you have any questions about Evan, about my 10k Legion grind, or my all characters to 250 grind, or about playing MapleStory in general, feel free to ask them down in the comments below. I make it a point on all of these videos, no matter if you find them today, tomorrow, 7 months from now, doesn't matter. If you have any questions, I make a point to answer them. At least if they're within my capabilities. If I don't, I'll point you in the right direction towards someone who might have an answer. And as always, I hope you liked the video. I'll see you next time.